We're all building an online brand, even if we don't realize it. So, hey, why not be intentional about it? That's what we're going to talk about on today's episode. Welcome to Content Creators Unite, the show where we discuss all things content creation. So, if you want to learn how to grow your business using your blog, newsletters, books, and more, hey, you're in the right place. I'm your host, John Clements. Our guest for today's episode is Sarah Ashley. Sarah is a late 20s, multi-passionate content creator, writer, and entrepreneur based in Florida. She uses her passion for storytelling to entertain, inspire, and educate on social media while still feeling relatable. Additionally, she owns and operates a copywriting business called Portal Copy Company. Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here today. Before we dig into all things online brand building, I would like to get to know you a little bit better. Would you share a little bit of your background with us and kind of talk about how you got into content creation?
Yeah, believe it or not, I started writing when I was in high school, actually. I don't know if you've ever heard of Fiverr, but
Yes, yeah.
yeah, it's a freelancing platform and I actually got my start there. It was just kind of a fun way to like earn extra money when I was in high school and then into college. Um, and I didn't actually go to college for anything content or writing related. I actually started out in computer science, which is always a fun story to tell because no one probably guesses that. Um, so that was interesting, but I realized it wasn't for me. I was interested in it, but just because I was interested in it didn't mean it was what I was meant to do. So I switched to business. Just kind of felt like a good degree to encompass all things copywriting, marketing related. I didn't even know exactly what I wanted to do at that point. I just knew that business was probably the right route. So after college, I went into copywriting full time and then just started working more in like the content field, content management, a little social media management. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how that segued. Writing had always been sort of a consistent thing in my life, from high school up until now, but um, didn't always have such a clear pathway to get there.
Yeah, well, that's all right. I spent 15 years in the corporate world doing something entirely unrelated to what I'm doing now, and that was also entirely unrelated to my college degree and master's degree. So that's just
Really?
how it goes a lot. Oh yeah, that's just how it goes, and I think that's okay. So what is it exactly that grabbed your attention so much about the importance of storytelling? Because I noticed that's something you put a lot of emphasis into like your website, for example. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. Storytelling, I could say a lot here, but storytelling has become a very prominent topic, an idea, not just in personal branding, but also um, just as brands are trying to figure out how to be more relatable and authentic and like connect to the actual consumer. Um, I think a good way a good way to think of it is if you as a person can see yourself in another brand's story. Like if you can feel the emotions of the story, you can maybe see yourself as a character in the story, you feel more related to the brand, which can, create that sort of brand loyalty and also just create that connection, which is really important. And honestly, I feel like brands are just trying to find or brands I don't wanna say they have to, but brands are being more encouraged to find more authentic and relatable ways to connect with people a a level that's beyond, like, traditional marketing and advertising where you're just, shouting off a bunch of pain points and benefits and etcetera. You wanna actually, like, create a character, a story for people to, like, find themselves in, which is why kind of a bit of a tangent, but also like most people love movies. And you love movies because you connect with the main character within like the first 30 seconds or you see something relatable about them, you feel bad for them, you want to help them, you fall in love with them, just there's all these different ways to like connect with that character in the first beginning portion of a movie. And that's kind of some similarity that I see in storytelling, in terms of like the B2B, B2C space, if that makes sense. If you know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. like
Yeah, it does.
connection.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, like to your point, I've seen the word authenticity so much more in the past, say, 5
Yeah.
years than ever before, and
That's kind of a
yeah,
buzzword,
yeah,
but
it kind of is, but it's also something that people do want, um, and I always
yeah.
say, we've been telling stories since we were sitting around the campfire, 10,000, however many thousand years ago. We've been around as a species, so it's just kind of ingrained in our DNA.
Mhm. And it's also a way to make I don't wanna say a way to make buying things less boring or less mundane, but it kind of is. Because if you
I
think about your
suppose.
favorite if you think about your favorite brands and also on the flip side, I suppose, it's also a way to make, from a brand perspective, it's also a way to make what you're doing more interesting to people and just have more of a personality and a life as well. So like your favorite brands, you probably buy from them because they have good products, but you also probably buy from them because you like support something that they support or you really feel connected to maybe this a phrase that they use all the time that's a key part of their story. Or maybe they have a character um, that sort of personifies their brand that you think is really cute or interesting or that you can relate to and see yourself through visually. So that's also really important.
Yeah,
Just
I think yeah,
yeah,
yeah. To be connected to something, I think again that just speaks a lot. And I think it's yeah, I think as marketers are figuring out that that is important. We probably should do that.
yeah,
And yeah, and a piece of that I think uh, is also like your brand voice. And so I would love to get your thoughts because you do mention this on your website as well about how you help your clients develop their brand voice. So talk to me about that. What is a brand voice? How do you develop it? Why is it important? Get kind of what's the Reader's Digest version of that?
yeah. This is something that I talk about on my website and also something I've been talking about on social media too, which is interesting because um, your brand voice or your signature voice um, is very important because it can serve as this I don't know if this is a Reader's Digest version, but it can serve but your brand voice essentially is your um signature way of speaking where if someone reads something or hears a phrase or something they automatically think of you. So think like catchphrases can be part of your signature voice. Just how you say things. If you say things in a very snappy, witty way, that's part of your voice and your tone of how you say things. Um, or if you have a very gentle, like soft spoken, I don't want to say humble, what's the right word for it? Like a very diplomatic
Mhm.
way of speaking. That can also be your voice, but the the important thing is that when you create this voice or you develop it over time or you say this is, how I want to sound, that you maintain that throughout, the life of your brand, up until a point where I mean, some brands have the same voice for, like, years and years and years, but businesses that are just starting out, they may not know this, so it can change, and that's okay, but the important thing is to, like, be consistent if and not, switch your voices every single day.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and one thing that I've been talking about in terms of voice is I've been calling it a signature voice. So there's a lot of different elements to voice as well where you can um like for example, when I think of voice, I think of there's this one brand. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a very new like sleep brand like in the sleep market where they're creating like a sleep tape, but all of the existing sort of sleep tape or like mouth tape products
Mhm. Yeah.
are very like gentle and purples, lavenders, moons, but their brand is like red and their whole thing is sleep or die. I think that's the name of the brand actually, sleep or die.
Sleep or die.
Yes. So that's a great example of a very new company that I've seen in the media that has a very strong voice that's positioned um very differently from all the other sleep products. It's very, like, gentle.
Yeah, that's
Um,
really interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
Sleep or Die. Yeah, look them up if
I
you want
yeah.
to, but yeah, and their voice is very snappy and, like, powerful, and it goes with, like, their phrase is "Sleep or Die." So and it's, um, yeah, interesting. Look them up for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. And I do appreciate that you're it sounds like you have a very kind of open view about what a voice should sound like. Like it doesn't have to sound like what everyone else is doing. So it's
Yeah,
okay if you're different than everyone else. Like that's not a bad thing.
yeah, and I kind of I've been thinking about this recently, but I would like to go out on a limb and say that your voice doesn't have to sound like how you actually talk or how you speak, because a lot of people get that advice where they think they have to write like how they talk or develop a voice that is how they naturally talk, but you don't have to do that. You can actually cultivate it if it matches your brand in a unique way. And some people that I've, worked with or just had conversations with might not even really know how to write like they talk as well. So that's kind of a controversial idea I've been sort of
Yeah.
playing around with. I don't know how you feel about that. It's
Well, I think I mean, so you're a copywriter. I'm also a copywriter. That's part of what I do, and not everyone has the ability to write well. They just don't. So
Yeah.
what they might consider writing like I talk, might actually be sloppy and needs a lot of work. But to your
Yeah.
point, it could also be like, well, if I'm a reserved person, but my product needs a snappier type of voice, then I need to
Mhm.
be able to like, shift myself to be able to do that. So I think that's what you're saying is
Mhm.
you might have to do that, and that's okay too.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm a writer, you're a writer. We could nerd out on this stuff all day long, and that would be interesting to
100%.
us. Um, but the reason we're doing this really, right, is revenue, clients, getting customers. So talk to me, how does storytelling and brand voice, how does that tie into actually getting, more people on your email list, more subscribers, more clients, more sales?
Mhm. That's a great question. And you could probably approach that from a dozen different ways because it touches everything that you do in terms of your marketing. And again, going back to that connection with people, I think if you create a really strong story, like going back to the Sleep or Die brand with the mouth tape,
Mm,
they have used they use the power of story and just being a very punchy characteristic brand. And they have a um sort of like a mascot as part of their brand story, which is a lamb, named Persephone, which is funny enough. But they've weaved that into their story to really bring people into their world, into this brand world that they're creating around this story. And people, from what I've seen online and just reading case studies and like looking at what they're doing and reading the founder's Substack, people just really enjoy that, and I find myself really refreshed by it too, and it makes me wanna buy, or it makes me want to, like, know what they're doing because they're using story to create a world that people can buy into. Um, they're sort of using their story to create, like, gamification where they're introducing, like, almost game-like elements to bring people in, which makes people just honestly interested. And when you're interested in something, it sparks your curiosity. I feel like you're naturally more likely to buy something, or at least that's me. I don't know if that's good or not,
yeah. Yeah.
but, but
Yeah, I think you're creating those
yeah,
connection points, right? You're getting people involved and engrossed in what you have to offer. And so it's kind of manipulation kind of gets a bad rap, and not all manipulation is good, but it's kind of like a good way to just kind of get people on board.
yeah. And I do. It's I don't know if I don't want to say manipulation either,
Yeah, it's
but
such a negative word, I know.
yeah, and it is, and it gets a very bad like attachment to the marketing world. But you can really create a story and try to connect with people from a place of, like being genuine and just
Mm.
wanting, you know, to create something interesting. And I think about the world, like the world building that I'm trying to do with like my newsletter and just my general brand. And I just think it's really fun. And if other people think it's fun too and they want to like connect with it, then that just makes it like fun for everyone too in terms of the story. Um,
Yeah. Well,
so
so talk
yeah,
to me
if
about
that answers your
yeah.
question.
Yeah, it does. And I think and again, I think influencing is a much better word that I just thought of.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a
yeah,
writer.
influence.
So this is how we do things, right? We don't always get to write the first draft. We got to go back and like make edits. Um,
Hmm.
so tell me actually, like, I was really curious. You're trying to build a fun world. Like, tell me about that. What's fun about your world?
I am. I don't know if you want me to go in depth about it, but it has nothing to do with my business. It's a Substack newsletter, actually.
Well, give me a short version. Give me the 60-second.
Um, Short version is I'm experimenting with creating a Substack newsletter called Enter the Void. And the idea is that you are someone passing through the void and you are receiving a letter from the void that will either make you laugh or give you a tangible real life piece of information or advice in less than 5 minutes. All my newsletters are very short. And I have some world building elements in there. Like I call myself the void keeper, like the keeper of the void. And I
Nice.
create a lot of like very specific imagery around that. But I'm running that as an experiment to see how that will go because Substack is becoming a very great content uh, and brand building platform too for founders, writers, all sorts of individuals.
Well, I think it's great that you're running that as an experiment. I think that's something that, as a business owner, entrepreneur, content creator, like we should be experimenting because we just don't know what's going to happen. So we might as well try
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of founders join Substack. I've seen a lot of just influencers and content creators from TikTok have been joining Substack just within my own network. So it's um, definitely something to, like you said, try out, explore, and you know, because you never know what platform will be around
Yeah,
forever. So,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Or which one you'll, find some kind of influence in. So one thing I want to get back to is with this whole idea of like telling stories and having a brand voice and being, inviting people into your world. That's a very like personal, emotional thing in many ways. Um, and then potentially on the other side of the writing landscape, you have AI, right? Which is there to help you write and do more quantity and all that. So I'm curious of your take on to what extent do you use AI for your writing, or do you think it even should be used for writing? And like what does that look like in your world?
Yeah. That is such a hot topic in the writing world, especially.
Yes, it is.
Well, in most industries too, or most like creative industries. So, I would also be curious to hear your thoughts afterwards too, what you think. But I do use AI. I use it as a way to get inspiration or just get a starting point for something. And I use it to brain dump, ask questions, um, refine my ideas. Uh, I don't, well, I'm a little biased, but as a writer, so I don't think it's at the stage where it could replace a actual professional copywriter or someone who is expert in their field or even graphic design because I know the image models are becoming very impressive as well. Um, but I do think it's important to still use it and it's important to know how to use it because it's just going to keep increasing in popularity even if you don't use it every day, which that's another topic within itself. I don't know if you should use it every day, but um I do find myself leaning into it quite a bit. Um but yeah, I would not rely on it to produce like complete pieces of work, even though it is getting very comparable, which is kind of scary. Um
Yeah.
but what are your thoughts on it? And I also would like to preface or just disclaim and say I have a little mixed feelings about it. So as I'm learning more about it every day. I'm not an AI expert, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I'm
that's
kind of right there in the same boat with you. I use it minimally for some of the things you mentioned sometimes. But like you, as a professional writer, I think I can do a better job. I'll be
Mhm.
honest. I think I can do a better job. And also, like, I just flat out enjoy writing. I understand that some
Yeah.
people hate it and it's a big pain for them. And I'm not trying to cast shade or anything like that. Like, I'm not telling anybody what to do. But for me, like, I don't want to automate something that brings me joy. And so that's kind of where
Yeah.
I come down with it right now. And again, we're all learning. When someone tells me they're an AI expert, I really kind of don't believe them. Although I did have a guest on a couple shows back. He is an AI expert. He's been doing it since the 90s. So I listened to
Wow.
him. But for most of us, we're all still learning this. Yeah. So I think that's a pretty, reasonable approach to just kind of be
Yeah.
cautious, try it out, see what it does well, what it doesn't do well. But it's not an easy button. It's not a cheat code.
It's definitely not. Um, but it's still worth exploring. And I guess we'll see where it goes, honestly. I yeah,
Yeah.
that's where
That's
I'm at with it.
yeah.
That's about where I'm at, honestly.
I think that's where a lot of us are at. We'll just see where this goes.
Yeah.
So here, we'll jump into a maybe a more concrete subject. It's not filled with speculation and biases on both our parts.
Yeah.
One of the things you mentioned as before we hit record, and I was kind of looking into you and what you do, is you had the opportunity to learn from a female millionaire business leader, and so that's a wonderful opportunity. So tell me about that. What did you learn in your journey, and how did that kind of shape who you are today?
Yeah. So, like I said, it sounds more impressive than it is, but we basically just got to work alongside together. Um, we worked together for a couple of years, and I got to really just pick her brain. And she scaled her business from pretty much zero to over $1 million in annual recurring revenue in about a year or two, like less than 2 years. I think it was maybe like a year and a half, which was very impressive. And I actually have a whole section of notes from just things that I have learned from her, but one of the most important takeaways and pieces of advice was to just act on something, which I know as a creative person, and probably a lot of other people in the audience, and maybe even yourself, like I can get caught up in that hamster wheel of perfectionism and like maybe thinking about things too long and not taking action. And then the opportunity slips, or maybe I just could have done the thing sooner and gotten the results sooner. And that was the big thing that I learned from her was, and she just does it. So she acts and she moves quickly, and that really helped her to get to the $1 million mark faster than someone who maybe thinks about doing it for, a couple weeks and then tiptoes around it. She just like does it. And seeing her how she moves in business just really shone a light on the fact that I need to take more action in my life. And that it's been a whole learning process, and that's just been super helpful. Honestly, like, and I guess if I could give one piece of advice to anyone in the audience who is maybe feels like they are a perfectionist, or they feel like they take a long time to act on things, it's really just you just have to do it, and you have to help yourself unlearn. It's an unlearning process of waiting. So I had to unlearn waiting, if that makes sense. Like I had to train myself
Yeah.
to act fast.
Yeah. I wouldn't know
Yeah.
anything about perfectionism, nor would any of my family members. We were not.
Really?
Yeah, we talked about that quite a lot. My wife and I both suffer from that ailment, and I think we
Yeah.
pass it on to our children. So we have lots of conversations about that.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's such a I never even realized how big of a, topic it is, and I never would before working with her, I never would have thought of myself as a perfectionist either. I didn't even realize it. I would say, "No, I'm not." Like, I'm not a perfectionist, but when I saw how quickly she acted on things, um, I was like, "Wait, yeah, maybe I am. I need to be honest with myself here."
Yeah, well, on be self reflection, honest self reflection.
Yeah.
You'll grow a lot just by doing that. So, and I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
just it's important to develop a bias for action, because that's how
Yes.
things get done.
Yeah, and
So
trying new
yeah,
things.
and trying new things, absolutely,
Yeah,
and being okay if they don't pan out.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So I could talk to you all day. Our listeners probably have other things they need to do. But before we let you go, I do want to know something about you, not work related. I am curious when you're not, helping a client, writing a post. What do you like to do for fun?
Yeah. Would I be super boring if I told you I wrote poetry for fun?
Heck no, that's amazing.
Yeah, I love poetry, and then my Substack newsletter, I don't make any money from it. It's really just an experiment and something I'm doing for fun. It's semi-fiction, so that um yeah, that's something I've been doing. I also go to the beach. I really like the beach because I live near the beach. The theme parks are fun. Disney Springs. I don't know if you've ever been to Universal, Disney, so
No, never been.
yeah, I
I'm
love doing
boring.
that.
I'm more boring than you are, believe me.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
So,
Yeah.
well, that's great. And yeah, I mean, writing poetry is amazing. That's good for you. Keep doing it. Don't stop. We need more poetry in the world.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, Sarah, I know there's going to be people in our audience who are going to be saying, I would like to learn how to tell better stories. I would like to develop my brand. I need some help. So, Sarah, where can people go to learn more about you and get help with those needs?
Yeah. I'm on most social media as Sarah E. Ashley, and then that's personal, but you can still connect with me there. I don't mind. And then business is Portal Copy Co. So it's PortalCopyco.
Mhm.
If I can spell my own business name. But yeah, I'm on social media, and then you can also visit my website, portalcopyco.com.
All right, and we'll definitely have links in the show notes to those, so you can don't have to worry about spelling it right. You just click on the link and it'll take you right there. So Sarah, again, thank you so much for being on today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun.
Yeah, and
Thank
to
you.
our listeners, yeah, if you enjoyed our discussion today as much as we did, I hope you did. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. I go out and I find the best experts I can in the content creation space. I get them to share their secrets so you can grow your business. And with that, have a great day, and we'll see you next time on the Content Creators Unite podcast.